All right, I'm currently on the phone with Trentyn. He's another musician that reached out about the current interview sessions, so I'm going to go ahead and give him the chance to introduce himself.
Hi guys, my name is Trentyn Ulrick. I'm the frontman for Ulrick the band, and it's really nice to get to talk to you, Alexander. How are you?
Good, thanks for asking.
Of
All
course.
right, so let's kind of focus on you, obviously. Tell me about when you first found music. What about it kind of drew you in and made you want to pursue?
So I think I was either, I'm gonna say 4 or 5, and my parents took me to a Guitar Center for my birthday and had gotten me this like junior Fender, and that's kind of where I started learning how to play guitar. And then ever since then, it's kind of spiraled into becoming what I wanted to do in life.
Okay, so did you exhibit any sort of interest in music before that, or was it just randomly, we're going to see if this kid likes guitar kind of thing?
Um, I think in the beginning I had always been kind of into like just rock, but more of like the heavier side of things, so like Iron Maiden and stuff like that. Um, and I think because of that, that's why my parents were like, "Hey, let's see if he like actually likes playing music or just like enjoys music as like a you know like a side thing." And it ended up being something that I really really loved and wanted to pursue.
Sure. So, more kind of guitar and instrument focused music versus like a DJ or something like that.
Correct. And then guitar came first. I've been a guitarist for almost about 15 years now. And then I joined School of Rock when I think I was either 11 or 12. It may have actually been younger. Um, and my instructor at the time told me that really, if I wanted to like be in music and be somebody that like was different than the rest, I needed to learn how to sing as well. So that's when I started getting into doing vocals. And throughout the last, I'd say 5 or 6 years, I've really kind of developed my own vocal style, because originally I was really trying to be like the next Dave Mustaine. And then I kind of realized over time that Dave can't really sing. so so I had to figure out a more, like normal, natural way of singing that was like appealing to a much larger audience.
Okay, so let's kind of take a bit of a step back there, and tell me about the learning process for guitar. How quickly did you take to it before you figured out you could actually start writing with?
The writing really only started in the last, I'm going to say, 5 years, maybe 6, where I started writing everything independently. There was one song that when I was like 13, when I really is like this was like right after I had joined School of Rock. Um, I decided that I wanted to try and write some original material. So my parents found some people to like help with that. And it was a really funny story that we can talk about later. But with actually just like learning guitar and learning how to write, I would say really my best writing has happened in the last year or two. And every song that I seem to write now gets better than the last one.
Okay, so you kind of hinted there that writing is a relatively recent development. Before that, were you learning off of like guitar tabs or something like that, or did you have private lessons as well?
So I had private lessons. I've worked with a lot of really big name guitarists. A lot of it happened by chance. When I was 14 years old, I got the opportunity to do a show with Steve Vai, which was a huge deal to me because Steve Vai has always been one of my idols. And I recently was able to play another show with him, I think 2 years ago at his last Vai Academy. But I've worked with him. I worked with one of his friends. I think his name is Doug Doppler. And then there's another guy that I took private lessons for a long time. But in the last, I'd say 3 to 4 years, I've been solo self-taught, because I realized that a lot of the people that I was being like taught from, um, at a certain point, they had basically taught me all they knew, and there was things that I wanted to learn that either they didn't know like what it was or like how to do it, and I kind of wanted to go like my own way of music and create my own style.
Okay, so that kind of brings those two things together. The first bit being learning to sing in a way that was creative and unique to yourself, and then also learning to create with your instrument in a way that was unique to your style. So tell me about what that means to you. What is your creative process like, and what are you currently involved in?
When you say what am I currently involved in, can you elaborate a little bit on that for me?
Sure. So, I mean, do you have a group of guys that you're playing with and putting a band together? Are you solo writing and producing? Are you just recording your stuff? Are you keeping it all private and you don't record anything? That's kind of what I mean.
Got you. No. So, I have 7 songs right now that are completely finished. I got a nice, solid group of guys that we've been going out and performing. We have a show at the Whiskey in May. We've played the Viper Room. We've played basically every place on the Sunset Strip at this point. But with you know the writing process for me on how that all comes about, it's basically just kind of like I write when I feel like I have an idea. I don't ever sit down and like force myself to go, okay, I have to put a song together today, because I want every song that I write to be unique. I don't want it to sound like something else. And arguably that's one of the hardest things that I've realized, for me at least, that I've had to try and figure out is what genre are we? Because the songs that I write are all, they're all, I would say, metalcore, but not everything is like the same. Some songs are kind of ballady, and some songs are this like large orchestral type pieces, and other things like this new song that we have coming out soon, In Death We Trust, is a very, very like metalcore focused song, kind of like Bring Me the Horizon or Ice Nine Kills.
Okay, so that kind of ties into the other question I was going to ask in tandem with that is it sounds like a lot of your influences, it's very guitar heavy music, and a lot of it is more, for lack of a better term, the conventional like rock band setup. So how do you feel that your influences have had an impact on the way that you approach writing?
That's actually a really good question. So I think that a lot of my influences help and don't help. And let me try and explain this in a way that kind of makes sense. So the issue of having influences, at least for me, is if you rely on them too much, you become them. And then you get in a situation where everybody's like, oh, this is really cool, but it sounds just like X, Y, and Z. And I've never really wanted that. Like, I don't mind if somebody's like, oh, this is really cool. And, I listen to this and this sounds kind of similar to that. So, like, I like this too. Because, of course, you have to have some of that. But at least with, like, the people that have really, really influenced me, which would be mostly Dave Mustaine, Steve Vai, and Ice Nine Kills, is the things that I've kind of picked out from that is I like really look up to Dave's songwriting and the way that every song that Megadeth writes, or at least in recent years, has been very, very unique. I've looked up to Ice Nine Kills in the fact that they're able to lyrically come up with something that is interesting in every song, that the lyrics don't seem like just thrown together in 20 seconds. And then with Vi, it's always been about just the way that he's able to like utilize the instrument and like show how the guitar is like this thing that can do so many things based upon like how far you're willing to go with it.
Awesome. Perfect. So that kind of brings us up to the project that you're in, Ulrick. So what is the ambition here? What are you working towards, and what would you like to see happen in 5 or to 10 years?
So with Ulrick, which is my main band right now, what I'd like to happen is see how things go after the rebrand. We have a little bit of a rebrand coming out that I'm really, really excited for. I can't talk too much about it, but I think it's going to be a kind of turning point for the band. We have a lot of new songs and material coming out, and all I really hope is that people enjoy the music as much as I do. You know, for me at least, I've I understand that you kind of have to be known in this industry to have a following, but for me, it's never been about like being famous or whatnot. It's always just been about putting out work that other people enjoy.
Sure, perfect. That's an absolutely reasonable perspective on it as well. All right, so you mentioned a couple memories and important things that have happened to you surrounding music. So why don't you go ahead and share some things that kind of motivate you and help inspire you to, keep making music?
Um, Mostly for me, that's going out and playing live and seeing the reactions of people that don't know who we are, honestly. Um, I got a really huge opportunity last December to open for Kings of Thrash, which is Dave Elfson's band. He was the original bass player for Megadeth, and Kings of Thrash is basically a bunch of ex Megadeth members. So a lot of the songs that influenced me, I got to open for the people that wrote them, which was a huge, huge, huge like honor to me because we didn't just get to open for them; we were the direct support act. Um, and it was a really like eye-opening experience because it was probably one of the biggest crowds that we played for. I think the whiskey was sold out that night, so it was about 500 to 600 people. Um, and just having people come up to us after the show and be like, we're really surprised because I've never heard of you before, and your music is really, really good. How can we follow you? How can we support you? When are you playing next?
Awesome. Yeah, that's a huge feather in the cap to be able to get on stage with people that have had an influence on you.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, where can people find you and check you out?
So the link for everything is usually under Ulrick the band. As for Spotify, it's just Ulrick, which is Urick. And yeah, if you look up Trentyn Ulrick online, my name is spelled Trentyn. If you look up Trentyn Ulrick online, you'll find everything else.
All right, and you did mention there's a rebrand coming up. So in
Yes.
order to follow any of that, I would imagine they'd have to kind of follow you directly as well.
No, the name for everything isn't going to change. Just for lack of other words, the image of the band will.
Got it. Okay, fair enough. All right, so I always like to give the person I'm interviewing the opportunity to put out their last word. So what's a message that you have that you would like to share with people?
I think the biggest message that I'd like to share that I always say, I've said this at every show that I've ever played, is that if you feel that this is something that you want to pursue in life and don't really know how, just start. There is no, there's no right or wrong way to get into music. It's just doing what you love. And if this is something that you really enjoy doing and really like doing, then just start at it. I mean, there's a million different ways to learn an instrument now, or a million different ways to like learn how to write songs and put out music, and the least that you can do is just try.